Hello and welcome to Gazzetta Football Korea, your beginner's guide podcast all about South Korean football. I'm your host, Martin Jones. With me today is Yumi. 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. Hello, everyone.
Also with me is Tom Clark. All right, Tom.
Hi, mate. Good to see you again.
An interesting set of fixtures in Gameweek 4 we've got for you here. So big boys took a tumble. Jeonbuk shocked by Gangwon and Ulsan held by Gwangju. Good wins as well for Pohang and Gangwon. We'll be across all of that. We'll also be looking forward to Game Week 5, which includes a big East Coast derby, and we have some listener questions. And we've also got exciting news about a competition giveaway. Chance for you to get your hands on some merchandise for the Korean team of your choice, courtesy of Subside Sports. So stay tuned for that. So yeah, let's get stuck into our Game Week 4 recap. We'll come to the shocks in a moment. The game we picked out as our game of the week was the Sunday 11 a.m. game between Incheon United and Pohang Steelers, the Yumi Martin derby as it's known in some parts. We covered Pohang last week, but before we get into the game, let's just find out a bit more about Incheon, and who better to guide us than former Incheon resident and Incheon fan, Yumi. So Yumi, this is your old stomping ground, Incheon.
Yeah, definitely. I was living there approximately 2 years, and I lived quite near Munap Stadium where they used to play. So yeah, I know them quite well.
So whereabouts in South Korea is Incheon?
It's in the west of Korea. It's where the main airport in Korea is. So it's about 2 hours from Seoul, the capital, but it's the international hub of Korea.
So is it quite a big city, Incheon?
Yeah, I would say it's quite big. Not as big as Suwon or Seoul, probably, but it's still quite busy. It's quite developed there, and there's a lot of kind of cultural areas in there as well. There's like a Chinatown where like Chinese residents have made like a little Chinatown there, and there's a lot of like multinational residents there as well. So it's very cultural.
And Tom, I think you had an escapade in Incheon, didn't you? Which we touched on before.
Yeah, just my first ever K-League game, getting the days wrong, and then having a day out in Incheon because we turned up 24 hours before kickoff. So yeah, like Yumi says, it's is the international part because it's not just the airport coming in. It's got the big port, so you can actually take ferries across to China as well from Incheon, and there's islands off the coast that you can go to with nice beaches and stuff. And yeah, it's it's a big city in its own right. It's just dwarfed by Seoul because it's so close to it.
Good stuff. So just in terms of the team, actually before we got onto the football team, I was doing a little bit of research myself, and I was looking at the other sports teams in Incheon, and I'm just going to read you out some of the names. So for volleyball, the team is called the Incheon Korean Air Jumbos, which I quite liked. In ice hockey, they've got the Daemyeon Killer Whales, which was pretty good. And the best one, though, I think, was basketball, where you've got the Incheon Electroland Elephants.
I like the Killer Whales. I like the Daemyeon Killer Whales. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Usually everyone in Incheon goes to see the baseball, SK.
All right, yeah, I didn't even mention the baseball team. What's the baseball team called?
It's called SK Wyverns, and they're like the biggest kind of team in Incheon. So usually it's more popular than any other sports in Incheon. That's like the main team.
They're the opposite of the football team, the Wyverns. They're very, very successful baseball side.
Shots fired earlier, Incheon United there by Tom. So how come Incheon are just called Incheon United? Why don't they have why aren't they like the Incheon Majestic Zebras or something like that?
Just a lack of imagination, I'm guessing. Yeah, they've got some good rivals for their names, but yeah, just plain old Incheon United.
And they don't have like a big kind of company that's backing them, like Hyundai for Ulsan, Samsung for Suwon. They don't have that, and they're quite a small team in terms of like football in Korea, so they don't have any like big sponsors behind them.
Yeah, so just on that point, Yumi, just remind listeners what Incheon United is like as a football team, or at least what they've been like over the last few years.
Over the last few years, it's just been relegation battle after relegation battle. Somehow, they've been able to survive each one. I think especially last season as well. It was quite dramatic. They were destined to go down, but last kind of few games they kind of survived with the skin of their teeth. So looks like it's going to be another relegation battle this year as well. Not much positivity in Incheon at the moment.
I was looking at, when I was doing my research, I was looking at famous people from Incheon. Obviously, lots of names I didn't recognize, but one I did recognize was Kim Nam-il, who was a former player himself, defensive midfielder, 98 caps for the national team. He was playing in the World Cup 2002. And do you know what his nickname is? Or his nickname was the vacuum cleaner for his relentless play.
He's now the manager at Seongnam, so...
Yeah, how you doing the vacuum cleaner? It's a good one. It's just always cleaning up from others' mistakes. I guess you'd put to it, as well as just sweeping up behind the rest of the midfield.
During 2002, he was like the poster boy. He got all the female fans, and he was like the marketing boy, where he was like the face of Korean football at that time.
You're married to a famous newsreader as well, I think. Is that right, Yumi?
Yeah.
I was reading about this, and back in 2002, we had something called Kim Nam-il syndrome, which was, like you say, is very popular and had a lot of support from the female fan base, which was interesting. So, particularly because he's not if you're a defensive midfielder, you're not exactly a glamorous player. You're not getting forward, scoring goals or anything like that. You're just doing all the dirty work in midfield, and then, or cleaning up the dirty work in midfield, I guess you could say. So, cool. Okay, so that's Incheon, the place, and Incheon, the team. This weekend, Sunday, 11 a.m., they were at home against Pohang, and we picked this out as our game of the week to look out for. This was the game that was also shown on the Copper 90 YouTube stream. So coming into this game, Incheon were 9th in the league with 2 draws, no goals conceded from open play, but no goals scored. Pohang were 6th. Already a bit of an up and down season for Pohang, and they were smarting from going down 2-0 to Seoul last week, 2 goals from corners. The last time these two teams met, it finished 5-3 to Pohang. We didn't quite get 5-3, Tom, but we did 4-1.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the game of the weekend goes, it was the game with the most goals for sure. Competitive wise, probably not the game of the weekend, as it was pretty easy for Pohang, to be honest. I mean, Incheon don't help themselves. It was, very early on in the game when a defender just kind of fresh air kicked, and Palacios, got onto the loose ball, cut it back in, and then Ilyachenko finished. It was 1-0, and even from then, you're just thinking, well, Incheon are hardly going to be full of confidence. They're not scoring at all. So are they going to be able to get back in the game? And then, not long after, Pohang doubled their lead. But at least Incheon scored this week. And it was a good goal as well. It was Kim Ho-nam from outside the box, curled it in. And first viewing, I thought maybe the keeper could have done better, because it wasn't in the top corner, but it was just a very well-placed shot with a lot of dip on it. And it was a good goal. So at least there's one positive there, that they're scoring, and Kim Ho-nam is now Incheon's top goal scorer for 2020 with 1. But in the second half, Incheon were pushing, so maybe you can let them off those third and fourth goals, as they were hit on the counter attack, and they were good goals as well. The third goal was from Lee Sung-mo, and then the fourth was a really nice team goal, Song Min-kyo, but it was the assist from Palacevic that made it. It was, a little chip, only about 10, 15 meters, but it went over 2 defenders, perfect for Song Min-kyo to hit on the half volley, and it was a lovely goal. But Incheon are bad, they are really bad, and I guess the only thing for them this season is that one team goes down because of Sangju Sangwon already being relegated. So all they have to be is less worse than one other team, and they can stay up. So that could happen, because Gwangju have not been very good either. So that's the hope. But Incheon, it's Incheon, isn't it? It wouldn't be the same if they didn't have a relegation battle.
Oh, it's painful to watch as a fan, but I was really impressed with Pohang. I think Korean fans are now calling Pohang the Bayern Pohang. So they look a great team, but Incheon made them look very, very good because Incheon was so bad. It looked like at one point they tried to have like 5 defenders at one point, but definitely didn't work. The manager keeps going on about like focusing on the defending and not letting it, like not losing the game, like trying to keep the door shut as like the focus point of what they're doing. They're not really focusing on the attacking at the moment because of like the team situation, but that didn't work out this game. They were just completely taken apart by Pohang. They lost their 2 fullbacks to Sangju as well because of the military, so they got a lot of problems in China, and there's as I said earlier, they always kind of survive with the skin of their teeth from the relegation battle. I think most fans are now thinking this might be the year it's not going to work out.
Yeah, it could well be. It did feel like they were caught between 2 stools at times, whether to attack or whether to defend. And like Tom said, probably, I don't know, 4-1 maybe flattered Pohang potentially because Incheon were pushing forward. But they've got to get some points on the board at some point soon, you would think. So, yeah, that game finished Incheon 1, Pohang 4. Almost as many goals in this game as the other games combined this game week. Incheon dropped 2 places to 11. They'll be looking to bounce back next week at home to Gangwon. Pohang Steelers up to 4th, and they'll take a very morale-boosting victory into their East Coast derby with Ulsan Hyundai. Moving on to the other games, Friday 11:30 a.m. we had Daegu FC versus Sangju Sangmu. And this was one of a number of intriguing fixtures in round 4. Daegu intended to win. Hadn't really seen a great deal from them this season. Sangju in 4th, got stuffed by Ulsan on the opening day, but have had 2 wins on the bounce since then. That game finished 1-1. Tom, what did you make of this one?
It was a decent one to start the weekend's football off on Friday. Predicted to be a draw. I think all 3 of us predicted a draw, and that's exactly what it was. It was a decent open game actually. With Daegu have only got 3 points from their 4 games, but I still think they might push on a little bit this season. I don't think they've been terrible, and 3 points from 4 games isn't great, but I think they will. Once they get their first win, they'll improve and get some more. They've got Seongnam, then Seoul and Busan coming up. So if they could get a couple of wins there, then things will be looking much better. But I mean, their hopes rely on, and maybe you'll be better on the pronunciation of this, Martin. Is it Cecinha, the Brazilian guy, the pronunciation? But everything relies on him, and his goal was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And it was a second time this season we've seen that little flick between the legs into the back post, but it was a cross that made it for me. So we saw it with Gangwon in the opening week, but it was this brilliant cross from Jong Seung-won came in, and then he flicked it between his legs and it went into the back post, keeper with no chance. But Sangju are good. Sangju, mid-table, they're going to be relegated, but if it wasn't for automatic relegation for them, then I think they'd have a good season ahead for them. It was a good header. Song Seung-min, maybe the keeper could have done better. Might be being a bit harsh on him there, but the marking definitely could have been better. He was just totally free between 2 defenders. Daegu probably being the more disappointed here. They hit the post as well, and Edgar really should have won it for them with a couple of minutes to go inside the 6-yard box. And I think we put this out on the Twitter. Was it a bad miss or a good save? And I think it was both. I think Hwang Byung-gun made himself big, and he got a block on it. But any half decent striker should be scoring that. So enjoyable game, especially the second half. It opened up a little bit more. 1-1, reasonably fair result.
I thought Sangju were decent, but Daegu was probably slightly the better team, but I think draw was probably a fair result for them. They were quite decent, both of them. Sangju were on a little bit of a roll after a few wins, but a little bit of a setback for them.
So that game finished Daegu FC 1, Sangju Sangmu 1. Daegu move up one spot to 9th. As Tom says, 3 draws from 4. Sangju moved down to 6th, but as Yumi says, on a nice bit of form just at the minute. Moving on to Saturday, 8:30 a.m, Gangwon FC versus Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors. Saturday morning breakfast game. Gangwon were in 7th going into this with a symmetrical record, 1 win, 1 draw, 1 loss. 4 goals scored and 4 conceded. Jeonbuk, of course, top of the tree in 1st with 3 wins from 3. But there was still a sense that they've been grinding out results rather than winning them with style. However, it was Gangwon who triumphed today 1-0 in this game. Yumi, what did you take away from this?
I think it was a surprise result for everyone, but it shows how unpredictable K-League can be. So I thought it was a really good goal by, who was it, Komuya? Yeah, it was a really good header from him. So Jeonbuk also had a red card as well, and they've had a few red cards this season. I think that's the point that they're going to have to work on, the discipline side of it, because it's already 5 players sent off in the last 6 games overall. So it's a little bit of a worry for the manager there. After the game, he just said that the red card situation is definitely something he's worried about, and that's what he's going to be talking to the team about there. But it was definitely a very good goal, good header by Go, and I think Gangwon definitely deserved to win that.
Tom, did you catch any of this?
Yeah, I did, and I didn't know it was 5 red cards in 6 games. That's pretty awful. And this was there was no arguments at all. No need to go to VAR. No questions. No arguments. It was a terrible bit of control from Hong Jung-ho, and then the striker would have been clean through 1-on-1, and he just pulled him down. And that was so early on in the game that you probably think, I mean, obviously he's not thinking and it's just an instinct, but if he'd have just let the guy go, even if he scores, you've got more chance of coming back with 11. I actually thought Jeonbuk played okay, considering they only had 10 men, and probably, I would say, better than they have done in any of their wins this season, which, I mean, it does just show they are a good team. They, with 10 men, I think probably the compliment is that if you didn't know they had a man sent off, you wouldn't have known that they were playing with a man down for 70 odd minutes. They were the better team in the second half. They really took it to them, but they couldn't get the goal. But I just think that kind of cements how much they are the favourites for this league, that even with 10 men, they give it a good go, and they came very close. But I think Jeonbuk, it's going to take a really good team to beat them this season.
Cool, good stuff. That was Gangwon 1, Jeonbuk 0. Almost certainly the biggest surprise of the game week. Gangwon move into the top half with that. They're up to 5th and we're feeling good about themselves. Gangwon, I think, also firmly consolidating their position as the neutrals' favourites, I think you would say. Jeonbuk still in 1st, but this will be a bit of a kick up the backside for them, which could be a good thing for them in the long run.
Yeah, Gangwon are getting a lot of plaudits for the football they're playing as well. We know you love their kit, Martin, but the way they play are playing some nice football, and they're a good team to watch for the neutral, that's for sure.
Excellent stuff.
You regretting picking Pohang over Gangwon now? You seeing how much you love it.
All the big questions now. I think it does raise an interesting question, and not looking for an answer on this one. I'll just let this one float out there. But is it possible to like a team more than the one you support? So it's an interesting one. I think my answer to this question, going back to what you're saying, Tom, I think it probably would have been different either side of the Pohang game, because this game was on Saturday morning. Obviously, Pohang game wasn't until Sunday when they scored 4. So I think after the Pohang game, with their 4-goal rampage, I was buzzing. So yeah, no, I think I'm happy with my choice when all's said and done. So
you might not have been looking for an answer, but I think if you ask an Incheon fan, is it possible to like a team more than the one you support? I think we all know what that answer would be.
Yeah, you're a bit down on Incheon today, Tom, I feel.
They're awful. They're so bad.
Well, we haven't even, talking of bad teams, the 11 o'clock game was Gwangju FC at home to Ulsan Hyundai. Jeonbuk's surprise loss meant Ulsan could overtake Jeonbuk with a victory away at the strugglers. This game kicked off 11 a.m. Saturday. Gwangju, of course, bottlings, no goals, no points, as it stood the only team worse than Incheon in the league. Ulsan were second, and with Junior Monstro Negrao up front, banging in the goals, they certainly fancied their chances. But Gwangju, however, scored a goal, and they got a point. And that game finished 1-1, Tom.
Yeah, big shock here. Much more than Jeonbuk losing, I'd say, because, as we said, Gangwon are decent, but Gwangju are not. Yeah, it's not good for Ulsan. There's two draws in a row, and they kicked off knowing that Jeonbuk had lost as well. So they probably went into the game, on a high, thinking, right, we can take advantage here. But yeah, they didn't. Gwangju, they stay bottom, but first goal, first point of the season. But it was a terrible start for Ulsan. Onwon Sang scored Gwangju's first goal of the season. It didn't last long. Ulsan equalised, and it was more luck than skill. Cross came in, it somehow missed everybody and bounced off Lee Han-do for an own goal. It took a long time with VAR because you weren't sure who got the final touch and if the cross had been flicked on, and Junior was in front of the goalkeeper, so even if he didn't get a touch, which he didn't, was he still interfering with play? But because the cross went straight through with no flick on and hit the defender, he wasn't offside from the original cross. So the goal was given. I mean, have mixed feelings about VAR, but yeah, it took a long time. But when it makes the right decision, that's the main thing, So Ulsan kind of nicked a point. They were a lot better in the second half. Ulsan, they had all of the chances, they had all of the ball. Came very close with Kim In-sung hitting the post. It was a lovely through ball to him, and then a couple of minutes later he hit the near post this time, a much harder chance. But yeah, it was just wave after wave of Ulsan attack, but it was all around the box. There was nothing in the box. There was, other than those two chances for Kim In-sung, there were no obvious opportunities, and some odd managerial decisions as well, with Junior being taken off with 10 minutes or so to go, and with Big Bjorn not on the bench. They finished without a striker. Lee Chung-yong was only a substitute as well, but you can kind of tell when he came on at half-time, he was the one leading the team talk in the huddle, and so you just tell that the respect he's got from the other players, that even when he's not starting, he's still the main man that they all look to. But Yumi, have you got any idea why he was on the bench, why he wasn't starting?
No. I think the manager got asked that after the game, but he's just said it's a technical decision, nothing else, not much else. So who knows?
Yeah, maybe he was just thinking that Gwangju aren't up to much, so they could rotate the squad, get people some game time, and he brought him on at half time, so it obviously wasn't an injury. But yeah, 2 points dropped really is 2 points dropped. You can't, if you want to win the league, you can't be drawing with Gwangju. Gwangju, say they're not a particularly good team. Felipe is a proven goal scorer, but that was in Division 2. He hasn't got off the mark yet, but he's not getting any chances. He's not going to score if he doesn't get any opportunities to. I mean, a little bit of a positive for Gwangju that they got a point, and they were okay in the first half, but yeah, I think they're definitely going to be struggling this season and one of the favourites for relegation.
Yumi, would you agree with that? Would you say Gwangju early favourites for the drop?
Yeah, probably not much, but at least they got a point against one of the big teams, Ulsan. I think it was definitely a missed opportunity for Ulsan, especially after Jeonbuk lost before, and they knew that beforehand, so they could have had the edge. But also the Gwangju goal scorer Onwon Sang, he wasn't actually supposed to play because he's carrying a little bit of a big injury, but he actually said he forced himself to get fit just for this game, so the manager can pick him because his role model as a player is Lee Chung-yong. So he wanted to have that experience of playing on the same pitch as him. It did happen for him for about 12 minutes because Lee Chung-yong came on at halftime, but Sang was, because of his injury, he couldn't play the full 90 minutes, so he had to be substituted off, but at least he got that 12 minutes. But so he wasn't actually supposed to play, but he managed to get the goal and get a point for Gwangju, so it's good for him.
Yeah, and you would think they're going to need all of that battling, fighting spirit if they're going to get out of this. So that game finished Gwangju 1, Ulsan 1. The league positions as you were. Ulsan still second, failing to plant their flag atop K1. Probably still looking, though, the most likely challenger to Jeonbuk for the title this season. Gwangju still sitting on the trapdoor, but they've got two very winnable home games next. So that potentially could change, all depending on Busan, who are in 11th. Talking of whom, happening at the same time, Saturday 11 a.m. was Busan I-Park at home to Suwon Samsung Blue Wings. Busan, as I said, in 11th, just above Gwangju, with only 1 point to their name. But they played quite well in the last two games against Jeonbuk and Ulsan. Suwon were in 8th place with just one win, that being their last game, which is a fairly stodgy 1-0 home win over Incheon. And they've been struggling to get going this season. I actually caught this one, unfortunately. So I thought it looked like a promising game on paper, and I tweeted that out and obviously jinxed it. So the football gods didn't like that. I was just thinking both teams would really have loved to win this game, but it turns out neither team minded getting a draw, and this ended 0-0. In terms of the match itself, not much to really report in the first half. Adam Taggart, we touched on him a little bit last week, Australian striker for Suwon. He was last year's Golden Boot. He had a very good chance early-ish in the second half, but he hit the keeper from close range. Suwon had the better of the play in the second half, but couldn't break the deadlock. It's interesting, Adam Taggart played the first game away at Jeonbuk, which Suwon lost. He was left out at home to Ulsan, but then he's been back in for the last two games. Still hasn't got off the mark yet in K1, and it's difficult to figure out why, really, if he's carrying an injury or if it's just bad form or general team struggles. He certainly looked frustrated during that game and when he came off on the 80th minute. Still a few glimpses of quality, though, and Suwon are going to need him to start hitting the ground, or more importantly, hitting the back of the net, as does head coach Lee Lim Sang, who's still Bookie's favourite to get sacked at this stage. Yumi, for listeners not overly familiar with Suwon or the league in general, how bad is the current situation for Suwon?
Suwon is quite bad because they used to be called the Chelsea of Korea. They were one of the top two always. So many trophies, FA Cup finals, the Asian Champions League. But I think they're now being called the Newcastle of Korea because of the fans protests every game. It's not happening now, but obviously because the fans aren't allowed in the stadiums. But beforehand, it was just very bad. The owners had to come out to calm the fans like a few times, but it still didn't work. And sometimes it got quite violent, and the police had to be called. So there seems to be a lot of problems in Suwon. They're obviously backed by the big Samsung, but so obviously they've got the money, but it's just not happening for them at the moment.
Do you think the manager's slightly lucky, given that we've got a pandemic going on? So I imagine it's quite difficult to try and hire a new manager, especially potentially a foreign one. Maybe, I don't know, if everyone's even though in Korea things are starting to move out of lockdown, it's still difficult to go about that process, you would think.
Yeah, definitely, because he was saying himself, he was saying that each home game was quite hard on him mentally as well, just to focus on the game when there's so much kind of home fans booing you each game at halftime as well, and shouting, like Ian saying, out each game after the match. So I think I said before, this pandemic, having no fans in the stadium might actually help Suwon for the home games, because it was definitely affecting him towards the end of last season as well.
So that was Busan 0, Suwon 0. Busan staying 11th, promoted team going okay-ish at the moment, and they've got some nice games coming up. Sangju at home, Gwangju away, and Daegu at home. Suwon stay 8th. Last season's FA Cup winners looking very mid-table at the moment.
Yeah, I think a couple of sides might be lucky this season, because Sangju's relegation with only one team going down. I think that we might see one or two teams who are not particularly good stay up just because of that, with only one of them being able to go down, and that might be what does it for Busan, for Suwon, possibly Incheon as well. You know, if one side, if at the minute we would have to pick a team to go down, I would still say Gwangju over Incheon. But yeah, I mean, Suwon and Busan have looked better than Suwon. Suwon not been impressive yet. So, you know, it's not a particularly long season, but in the shortened season, there still is a long time to go.
The final game of the weekend was Sunday, 8:30 a.m., or rather the final game to review, for us at least. That's FC Seoul at home to Seongnam FC. FC Seoul were third going into this with 2 wins from 3. Seongnam were fifth, but undefeated. Quite tight at the back, but with a bit of punch going forwards as well. Could Seongnam stop the Seoul train, Yumi? Yes, they could, winning 1-0.
This was a game that Seoul were expecting to win as well, but Seongnam shocked them at home, and it was a game that was in the spotlight as well because it was the 2 managers were in the same team in the 2002 World Cup. So it was Choi Yong-soo of Seoul and Kim Nam-il of Seongnam, and they had a little bit of a banter going back and forth in the pre-match press conferences as well. Kim Nam-il saying, I can lose to anyone else but not him, and it's just a little bit of a friendly banter, and Kim Nam-il won it in the end. I think it was a messy goal right at the end. I think it was the 86th minute, but I think Seongnam will take that one. I think it was Tommy that scored it, and Seoul players with thinking there was a little bit of a handball in that right at the end as well with that goal, but there was no VAR and the referee gave the goal, so there must have been no question about it. And another player in the spotlight as well for Seongnam was Hong Si-hoo. He was actually on the main article in the Naver Sports this morning, so he must have caught the eye of a lot of fans. He's only 18, well 19 in Korea, but 18, playing as an attacker, and it's only his first season. He's only just debuted, so it's going to be a massive season for him if he keeps playing like that.
Yumi, you just very casually there said he's only 18, well 19 in Korea. That needs some explanation to people who aren't familiar with Korean age.
Korean age, yeah, it always confuses me as well, because whenever someone asks me how old am I have to think about it for a second, in England or Korea, because in Korea when you're born you're automatically 1 year old. So, and this also changes when on the 1st of January of each year as well, you automatically have a year older added onto you. So you might be like in an instance, you might be born right at the end of December, but you're already 1, and a few days later when it's January, you're 2, when you're only like 10 days old. So it's very confusing, Korean age. But yeah, he's 19 in Korea, 18 in Western commonly known age. I always forget how old I am. I need to kind of calculate every time.
Excellent stuff. I feel like there's a whole episode to be had with all these kind of cultural differences, seeing as both of you have got a foot in both camps. So yeah, it's an interesting one. We'll have to come back to that at some point. One thing I was just going to ask, FC Seoul manager Choi Yong-soo, does he have a funny nickname at all?
Oh,
as far as we're aware?
Eagle.
The Eagle?
Eagle, yeah, because he's very, when he was playing, he was a defender, and he had the reputation of scaring the opposition players with his eyes. So he's called the Eagle, Toksuri.
All right, so this week, in this game then, FC Seoul against Seongnam, we had, in terms of the managers, we had the Eagle versus the vacuum cleaner.
The vacuum cleaner won.
The vacuum cleaner won, yeah.
If we're talking about nicknames in this game, and you have to give him mention as well, is Kim Yong-kwang, the Seongnam goalkeeper, because his save was absolutely extraordinary. Like the reactions to keep out Ko Gwang-min's point blank effort, and it was all the better because he was having to wait because the cross came in and the guy in the middle of the box, got his head on it, so he had to keep his position. And in the end, it was a flick rather than an attempt at goal. So he was running to his left and the effort went to his right, and he managed to get his hand up and block it. But Kim Yong-gwan is also known as Glory in goal, so we had a glorious save from Glory.
Because Yong-gwan, it literally translates to glory, so that's why.
Excellent stuff. So that game finished Seoul 0, Seongnam 1. Seongnam not quite on song, but their win was still sealed with a kiss. Goal being scored, of course, by Tomislav Kiss, the Seongnam striker. FC Seoul, see results go against them, so they drop back to 7th. Seongnam leapfrog Seoul up into 3rd, still unbeaten, 2 wins, 2 draws, level on points with Ulsan and only 1 point behind Jeonbuk. So, yeah, interesting times for Seongnam.
Oh, it's brilliant for Seongnam. Nobody would have thought they'd have had a start like this. Yeah, they had some reasonably nice fixtures to start off with, but away win at FC Seoul is a brilliant result for them, and to be up in 3rd at this part of the season is fantastic. They were heavily tipped to be fighting relegation. Of course, they still might, but to be where they are already, brilliant.
Seongnam certainly surprised us there because we called that home in for Seoul, so we got that one wrong in our predictions. Daegu and Sangju, we got right with a draw. Jeonbuk and Ulsan let us down. I get a point for blindly guessing that Busan and Suwon would be a draw. So, yeah, there you go. So what does this mean for our leaderboard? So I get 3 points, Tom gets 2, Yumi gets 1. So Tom and I are top on 9, Yumi on 7. More meaningful leaderboard, of course, is the K-League table, or the K1 table, I should say. Interesting set of fixtures. It didn't necessarily lead to interesting football on the pitch at all times, but it has made the league table more interesting. Jeonbuk still top, Ulsan still 2nd, but now only 1 point separating them. With those two dropping points, the mid-table teams close the gap, with Seongnam, Pohang and Gangwon all gaining ground on the top boys. Daegu and Busan in 9th and 10th, looking to break into that middle pack with Sangju, Seoul and Suwon. 4 teams still winless after 4 games, those teams being Daegu, Busan, Incheon and Gwangju. Incheon and Gwangju both bottom, both scored 1 and conceded 5. In terms of the top scorers, Ulsan's Junior Negrao drew a blank this week, but the big Brazilian is still the league's top scorer with 5. Ilyuchenko at Pohang now has 3, and a few other guys around the league on 2. Tom, any final thoughts on game week 4?
Yeah, I mean, for the league itself, it was kind of good that Jeonbuk lost. And, obviously not if you're a Jeonbuk fan, but if you want a close league, then it was important that somebody beat them at some point. And I mean, nobody took advantage of it really, but, with Ulsan dropping points, had Jeonbuk got a win, then that would already have been a fairly sizable gap between them. So, I mean, it wasn't a great round of matches this weekend, but there were a couple of upsets, and so it's all set for a really good weekend next weekend. I think there's a couple of massive matches, which obviously we're going to go on and talk about a little bit later.
Thanks very much. So yeah, boom, that's our game week 4 recap done and dusted. Before we look forward to game week 5, we have a competition for you. Stay listening, details after this short break. That's right, listener, it's competition time. We've teamed up with the lovely people at SubsideSports.com, a UK-based company with a frankly amazing selection of football merchandise for national teams and club teams all over the globe. Whether it's current kits, retro kits, or general gear, they've got you covered. They also have some lovely K-League merchandise, and you can win a hoodie and t-shirt of the K-League team of your choice, courtesy of Subside Sports. To enter, just head to our Twitter page at Gazzetta Korea, where you'll see our competition tweet. Here's what you need to do. Step 1, follow at Gazzetta Korea. 2, follow at Subside Sports. That's SUBSIDE Sports. And step 3, retweet the competition tweet with your favorite K-League team. Full info is on the tweet. If you don't have a team, check out the links in the tweet for Tom's team guide. Closing date is 2 p.m. Saturday 13th of June, so not next week, but 2 Saturdays' time. The winner will be chosen at random. So hit pause, get on Twitter, and good luck. Right, let's move on to our Game Week 5 preview. Friday game is Incheon at home to Gangwon, 11:30 a.m. UK time. So Incheon rounding off Game Week 4, and they kick off Game Week 5. The Airport Boys play host to Gangwon. Incheon really need to get some points, but coming up against a Gangwon team in good spirits and looking to continue their good form.
With apologies to Yumi, but this is going to be a Gangwon win. There is no, or it seems there is very little home advantage at the minute. So Incheon don't even have that going for them this week. And Gangwon have made a really good start. You know, they've played well. They've got some good results. They're off the back of an excellent result against Jeongbuk, and Incheon are struggling. And you know, pretty much anybody coming up against Incheon other than Gwangju at the minute, I think I'd be predicting them to win. So I think Gangwon will get another 3 points.
And Incheon are definitely struggling, but I can't say the other team will win, so I'll keep backing Incheon until they get their win.
Eventually you'll get one right.
Eventually somewhere we'll get a surprise result.
I've gone for a draw for this one. Not sure why. Just feels like a draw to me. Saturday we've got FC Seoul at home to Jeongbuk, 8:30 a.m. Jeongbuk looking to bounce back after their surprise loss to Gangwon. FC Seoul, home match for them against the champions. So this will be a test of where they're at as a team, and hopefully we'll know a bit more about them after this game.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great start to Saturday's fixtures, and normally I think on any regular weekend you would pick this out as the standout match, you know, two of the real giants of the game. But as we'll get to later, there is an even bigger game this weekend. But yeah, 8:30 a.m. Saturday for us here in the UK. So it's a really good game to start Saturday off. FC Seoul needs something here to stay in touch with Jeongbuk. Otherwise, they will be, you know, they'll be too far behind even this early stage of the season, because we can see Jeongbuk aren't going to lose many games. So I would lean towards a draw with this, but it's that home advantage thing. It's not there, and I think if they were playing and with fans in, then I might go for the draw. But I'm going to go for a Jeongbuk win here because, you know, despite their loss against Gangwon, they did impress me with 10 men. So yeah, away win.
I'm going for a away win as well. I think Jeongbuk will want to pick up the points here and get something right.
Full house for me. I've gone away win as well. The 11 a.m. game, UK time, is on Saturday. Pohang Steelers at home to Ulsan Hyundai, the big East Coast derby. Fake fan noise, crank it up to 11. Anything could happen here. Form book out of the window. Do these cliches still hold true in Korea?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a massive game and it is a derby. So yes, everything that you just said is true for the Korean match as well. And probably, you know, this is the first time the two of them are playing each other since Ulsan's heartache at the end of last season with the 4-1 defeat that took the title from them. So yeah, it's a big game and it means a lot to both teams. So I'm going to go for a draw here. I just think they are two good sides, and Ulsan have dropped a couple of points in the last 2 weeks. They're coming into this on the back of 2 draws, so they will need something. I think probably both sides would take a draw as well. It'll be a decent result. It's just one of those games you don't want to lose. So score draw for me, and hopefully it'll be an exciting one.
Yeah, I predicted a draw for this as well for some reason. I think Ulsan, they've had made quite a good start, and then they've dropped a few points past couple of games. I don't think they're going to pick it up yet, so I'll go for a draw on this one as well. But definitely the game that fans are looking forward to.
Yeah, I've got a draw for this one as well. I know you're supposed to back your team all the time, but tricky one given it is a derby match. Playing at the same time, Saturday 11 a.m. is Busan iPark at home to Sangju Sangmu. Sangju have got 7 points from their last 3 games, so they'll be looking to continue their good form. However, they're going away to a quite resilient Busan team whose position maybe doesn't reflect how they've played. This is also the start of a nice run of games for Busan.
I do agree a bit that their position isn't reflective of performance, but it's 4 games and we've said it after every game now, so you can't keep saying it. So I think probably only give them a couple more games before we say, all right, well, maybe they are in the position they deserve to be in. I don't think they'll get a win here, or they do need one, but I don't think it'll be here. But I can see another draw for them, and we'll probably at the end of that be like, well, Sangju were good, that's a good point. Busan have done well again, but then they still won't have many points on the board. One thing with this game is it's not going to get any real coverage. It's going to get lost as it is in the same time slot as Pohang Ulsan. So it's a bit of a shame that that I'm sure it will still be shown, but it just people will choose to watch the other game, I think. So a bit of a shame, but we'll still give it some airtime next week.
Yeah, I went for a draw here as well. I don't think there's going to be too much happening in this one, but I think both sides are decent, but not strong enough to beat each other at the moment.
Yeah, I've gone for a draw there as well. I think, like you say, 2 teams are probably just going to cancel each other out. You would think. So we'll see what happens. You never know. Sunday games, no early start on Sunday, which I think probably be pleased with from a UK perspective. Both of these games are at 11 a.m. You've got Suwon Samsung Blue Wings at home to Gwangju. Suwon in mid-table, Gwangju still bottom of the league. Blue Wings really need some numbers in the win column. How can Gwangju build on their positive result against Ulsan and get out of the basement here?
It's a big game at the bottom of the table, this. Suwon must win this. Anything else but a win for Suwon, and the manager is going to be very close to the sack, you'd imagine. Gwangju got a decent result against Busan, but for me, they're the weakest side in the league. Nothing but a win for Suwon will do. It's an absolute must win for Suwon, and I think they will do it.
Yeah, I think Suwon have just enough to beat Gwangju. They're not playing that well, but I think Gwangju, they've got problems of their own. So I'll go for a Suwon win, probably Yeom Gi-hun match winning again.
Yeah, I've gone home win as well for this one. Like you say, it would be pretty unthinkable, really, if Suwon don't win this. And I think Gwangju might be relying more on their home form, you would think. So might just be looking at this as a free hit. The other game, finally, is Seongnam at home to Daegu. Or from a mascot perspective, the mechanical magpie versus Rika, the footballing hedgehog. Daegu looking to climb up into that mid-table position. Seongnam, as we said, the surprise package this season. And this is going to be an interesting one because Jeonbuk and Ulsan, as we said, have both got potentially tricky away games in game week 5. Could we see Seongnam on top of K1 come the final whistle on Sunday?
I mean, if that was to happen after 5 game weeks, that would be just a huge, huge shock. I don't see it happening just purely because I think Jeonbuk will win. But I mean, if they do slip up, Seongnam playing last on Sunday, the last game, they would know a win could take them top. But no, I don't think Seongnam will win here. I'm going to go for a draw. Glory and his defence are in fine form. They got another clean sheet against Seoul, so that doesn't bode well for Daegu, who have only scored twice this season. So I'm either going to go 0-0 or 1-1, a low-scoring draw.
I'm going for a narrow Seongnam win. I think they'll continue, a bit of luck on their side as well, and I think they'll continue their very good form. Daegu are a decent side as well, but as you said, they haven't scored that many. I think 1-0 Seongnam win.
Daegu are the draw specialists, so it could be low scoring. I've gone for a home win though in this one. My boy Yang to come up with the goods. We haven't seen much from him in the last couple of weeks after his brace in game week 1. So guys, which one are we picking out as the match of the game week?
I think there's one obvious one, the derby, big derby.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Pohang Ulsan this week. FC Seoul v Jeonbuk is a huge game as well, and as we say, on a regular game week, that would probably be the pick, but it's up against Pohang Ulsan. There's only one choice for that. Pohang Ulsan, set up for a cracker, and with the Seoul Jeonbuk game kicking off just before as well, it's 2 back-to-back games on Saturday morning for us here. Brilliant.
So that's FC Seoul at home to Jeonbuk at 8:30, but our game of the game week there is 11 a.m. Saturday, Pohang Steelers against Ulsan Hyundai, big East Coast derby. So, yeah, hopefully should be a good one.
It'll be interesting to see if Copper 90 choose a Saturday game for the first time this season, if they're swung by a derby and show that one, or if they stick to their Sunday 11 o'clock slot. And then, I'm not sure which one they'd choose. You'd assume maybe Seongnam Daegu, just because Seongnam are up in third. But keep an eye on Twitter. We'll retweet what they choose, when they choose, and be interesting to see what it is.
Good stuff. Thanks very much, guys. Let's move on to listener questions. Question this week is from Ollie in Seoul. Thanks very much for getting in touch, Ollie. His question is, other than Junior at Ulsan, who might be challenging for the top scorer award this season?
It's a good question, because Junior was second last season. He got 1 fewer than Adam Taggart. I think Junior had 19 and Taggart had 20. He's got a bit of a head start on him this year, and I mean, we know Taggart is a goal scorer, but I think it just shows how good a season he had last year, because he's got to have some chances to score from, and he's not getting the chances. So I think for me, you're ruling Taggart out just because of that. And Jeonbuk seem to be sharing their goals around, so I'm not going to pick a player from Jeonbuk for it, but probably be looking down at Pohang. They create chances, they score quite a few goals, and in Ilyutchenko, they've got a goal scorer there. So if anybody's going to take it away from Junior, I think it'd be Big Stan.
Yeah, I think Junior's going to win it, but if it's not him, then probably Ilyutchenko from Pohang. I think a few Korean fans are rooting for Ko Mu-yeol from Gangwon as well, just after his header this week. He's got a lot of articles about him, but I think I'll go for Ilyutchenko from Pohang.
Yeah, Edgar is a good finisher at Daegu, but they're not creating a huge amount. So it'd be a tough ask for somebody in mid-table whose team don't create a massive amount to get the golden boot. So you're probably looking at the top sides and saying nobody has stood out for FC Seoul yet. Jeonbuk spread their goals around. So yeah, probably Junior at Ulsan or Ilyutchenko at Pohang. Maybe we'll see them head to head this weekend, and we'll have a better idea after that.
Good stuff. Thanks very much. That is us done for our Game Week 4 recap pod. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Stay subscribed and check in with us as we go through the season. If you want to get in touch, we're on Twitter at Gazzetta Korea. Email address is gazettafootballkorea@gmail.com. Tom Clark, huayumi, kamsahamnida. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, always a pleasure.
Thank you as always.
This is your host, Martin Jones, signing off for Gazzetta Football Korea, your beginner's guide podcast on South Korean football. Look forward to seeing you next week for some more K-League action.